Welcome back. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa issued Decree 22 of 2025 restructuring the National Archives Centre based on a proposal by the Prime Minister and following the approval of the Cabinet. The National Archives Centre will consist of Board of Trustees followed by a President overseeing 2 directorates, Documents and Archives Directorate and Research and Knowledge Services Directorate. His Majesty also issued Decree 23 of 2025 amending Article 1 of Decree 50 of 2023 on restructuring the Justice and Islamic Affairs at the Ministry of Justice, Islamic Affairs and Waqf. The amendment was issued based on a proposal by the Minister of Justice and following the approval of the Cabinet. According to the decree, a new Clause 3 shall be added to Paragraph 5th of Article 1 of Decree 50 of 2023. The remaining clauses shall be renumbered accordingly, and the new clause shall read as follows: 3. Licensing Directorate. His Majesty also issued Decree 24 of 2025 appointing an Assistant Under-Secretary at the Ministry of Justice, Islamic Affairs and Waqf based on the proposal by the Minister of Justice and following the approval of the Cabinet. Judge Sheikh Umar bin Daij bin Abdullah Al Khalifa shall be appointed Assistant Under-Secretary for Islamic Affairs at the Ministry of Justice, succeeding Dr. Muhammad Tahir Muhammad Salih Al-Gattan. His Majesty also issued Decree 25 of 2025 appointing a General Director at the Ministry of Interior based on a proposal by the Minister of Interior and following the approval of the Cabinet. Colonel Ahmed Saad Ibrahim Ramehi, Director of the Cyber Crime Directorate at the Ministry of Interior, shall be appointed as General Director of the General Directorate of Anti-Corruption, Economic and Electronic Security at the Ministry of Interior, succeeding Major General Bassam Mohammed Khamis Al-Ma'raj. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa ratified and issued Law 16 of 2025 approving the agreement between Bahrain and Guernsey on the elimination of double taxation concerning income taxes and the prevention of tax evasion following its approval by the Shura and Representatives Councils. The agreement was signed in Manama on September 29, 2024. His Majesty also ratified and issued Law 17 of 2025 approving Bahrain's accession to the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties of 1969 following its endorsement by the Shura and Representatives Councils. The accession was signed in Vienna on May 23, 1969 with a reservation stating that the kingdom shall not be bound by the provisions set out in Article 66 of the Convention. His Majesty also ratified and issued Law 18 of 2025 approving the agreement to amend the framework agreement for financing the second phase of the project to improve water transmission and distribution from Maddur Station following its approval by the Shura and Representatives Councils. The agreement was signed on July 9, 2024. His Majesty also ratified and issued Law 19 of 2025 approving the agreement between Bahrain and Hungary on the promotion and reciprocal protection of investments following its endorsement by the Shura and Representatives Councils. The agreement was signed in Manama on September 4, 2024. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa issued Edict 28 of 2025 appointing directors at the Ministry of Interior based on a proposal by the Minister of Interior. The following officers are appointed as directors at the Ministry: Lieutenant Colonel Muhammad Jasim Hassan Al-Tamimi, Lieutenant Colonel Hamad Khalil Ibrahim Al-Jasim, Lieutenant Colonel Isa Abdullah Hamad Al Khalifa, Lieutenant Colonel Ismail Naji Muhammad Al-Amin, Lieutenant Colonel Muhammad Khalid Salim Al-Absi, Major Hassan Khalid Abdullah Al-Manasir, Major Nasser Khalifa Ahmed Al-Fadala, and Major Yusuf Muhammad Hassan Abdul Rahman. The Minister of Interior shall assign the above-mentioned directors to the vacant departments within the Ministry in accordance with the functions and responsibilities of each department and the qualifications and experience of each appointee. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister deputized the Deputy Prime Minister Sheikh Khalid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa to open the Social Housing Innovation Summit 2025 organized by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning and the Housing Bank. The Deputy Premier stressed that the social housing sector in Bahrain is at the top of national development priorities and receives the support of His Majesty the King, especially after His Majesty's directives to provide 50,000 new housing units to meet the aspirations of the people of Bahrain. He also praised the support of His Royal Highness in this regard through launching new programs and financing options that will provide immediate housing services in line with citizens' needs, while supporting the government's achievement in its program priorities for the years 2023-2026. He also praised the follow-up of His Royal Highness and his directives to expand the rollout of the Government Land Development Rights Program, which are being implemented in various governorates in partnership with the private sector. The Deputy Prime Minister praised the cooperation of the Ministry of Housing and the Housing Bank in organizing this event, which was attended by the Speaker of the Representatives Council and a number of officials. He noted that the event represents a meeting platform that brings together housing stakeholders from inside and outside the kingdom, and it's an opportunity to discuss the reality, challenges, and development opportunities of the social housing sector. He also appreciated the active participation of government agencies, real estate companies, and commercial banks in the accompanying exhibition, which reflects the keenness to provide housing projects and options that contribute to providing support for citizens. During the opening ceremony, MOUs were signed between the Ministry of Housing and a number of real estate companies to implement the projects of the Government Land Development Rights Program, after which the Deputy Premier honored the companies supporting the conference. For her part, the Minister of Housing, Amna Ramehi, extended her thanks and gratitude to His Majesty the King for the unlimited support to the social housing sector. She also extended her gratitude to His Royal Highness for his patronage of the event. The Minister said that organizing the event comes at a very important time, as it coincides with the Ministry and the Housing Bank's implementation of the Royal Directive to accelerate the pace of housing projects and provide 50,000 housing units through the launch of the Tasheel Plus financing program. On the sidelines of the Social Housing Innovation Summit, the Deputy Prime Minister Sheikh Khalid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, in the presence of the Minister of Housing and Urban Planning Amna Ramehi, met with the Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Chinese company CMAC, Wang Bo. He stressed that Bahrain is continuing to expand its international partnerships in line with the objectives of the comprehensive development process under the leadership of His Majesty the King and the follow-up of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister. He pointed out that the distinguished level of cooperation between Bahrain and China is one of the most prominent forms of successful international partnerships, stemming from the interests of the leaderships of the two countries, especially in the sector of social housing. He praised the partnership between the Ministry of Housing and CMAC in the implementation of the Sitra Housing City project and reviewed the latest developments of the third phase of the project, as it includes the implementation of 1,269 housing units, including secondary infrastructure services. On the sidelines of the Social Housing Innovation Summit, the Minister of Housing and Urban Planning Amna Ramehi announced during a press conference the launch of 4 new housing programs to increase the pace of implementation of housing projects in partnership with the private sector. The Minister reviewed the details of the mechanism of the Tumuh program, which focuses on giving citizens who benefit from Tasheel and Tasheel Plus financing to purchase a residential apartment, an additional option of obtaining an additional financing amount from Tasheel option worth 20,000 BD after 10 years from the date of benefiting from the main financing to purchase the apartment, in case the beneficiaries wish to sell the apartment and obtain another property that suits their needs. She said that the ministry has launched the off-plan sale project within the Government Land Development Rights Program in a move that is in line with the level of housing projects that are made available for the benefit of citizens. Regarding the Private Land Development Rights Program, the Minister explained that this program aims to support real estate companies in the Kingdom to increase real estate projects at prices that suit the value of the housing finance obtained by citizens. She pointed out that this program represents a new qualitative leap in the partnership between the government and private sectors to provide housing services to citizens, as the program establishes a new phase of providing government support to private sector companies to provide projects aimed at the social housing sector at prices suitable for housing financing for citizens. The Shura Council Chairman Ali Saleh received the Vice Chairman of the Policy Committee of the Russian-Bahraini Parliamentary Friendship Group of the Federal Assembly of Russia, Mohammad Ahmedov, and his accompanying delegation, whereas Saleh received a written letter from the President of the Federal Assembly, Valentina Matvienko, including an official invitation to visit Russia. Saleh stressed that the close ties between both countries are growing thanks to the continuous support of His Majesty the King and the President of Russia. He stressed that this visit contributes to enhancing cooperation between the two friendly countries. For his part, Ahmedov expressed thanks and appreciation for the warm hospitality and reception and stressed that their visit provides an opportunity to exchange views and opinions and strengthen the bilateral relations. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al-Zayani, participated in the 163rd Ordinary Session of the Arab League Council at the ministerial level. The ministers discussed the topics on the agenda and the latest developments and current political issues and challenges facing the Arab world, especially the Palestinian cause, the war on Gaza, Israeli violations, international political affairs, social affairs and human rights, economic affairs and legal affairs. They adopted resolutions on dedicated Arab cooperation at all levels in various political, economic and development fields. The Ministerial Council adopted a resolution on following up on the implementation of the initiatives presented by Bahrain at the 33rd Arab Summit in light of the report submitted by the Kingdom to the Secretariat General. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Abdulatif bin Rashid Al-Zayani, participated in the meeting of the Ministerial Committee in charge of international action to confront illegal policies and measures in Jerusalem, chaired by Deputy Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates of Jordan, Ayman Safadi. The meeting reviewed the Israeli violations in Jerusalem, the efforts of the committee's work, and the movements and contacts made by member states and international countries to confront Israeli violations and enhance joint Arab action to stop these violations. A joint statement was issued in which the committee condemned the Israeli violations of Islamic and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem as a shocking violation of international law and a dangerous escalation, and emphasized that the rejection of Israeli policies targeting the Arab, Islamic, and Christian identity of Jerusalem and its holy sites would violate the existing historical and legal status. The committee also condemned the raid of Israeli ministers and officials into Al-Aqsa Mosque and the escalating steps by the Israeli government aimed at changing the historical and legal situation in Jerusalem and its holy sites. The ambassador of Bahrain to Egypt and permanent representative to the Arab League, Fawzia Zainal, participated in the 163rd ordinary session of the Council of the Arab League at the level of permanent representatives. The meeting included the handing over of the presidency of the Council at the level of permanent representatives from Yemen to Jordan, which will assume the presidency of the 163rd session of the Council. The permanent delegates discussed topics aimed at strengthening joint Arab action, most notably security cooperation, political, economic, social affairs of Arab countries, the Palestinian cause, Arab national security, Arab international cooperation files, and economic, political, and social affairs of Arab countries. The Bahrain Medical Lab Symposium, organized by the Ministry of Health in coordination with the government hospitals, primary healthcare centers, and the Royal Medical Services, and in cooperation with Education Plus, received wide participation from interested parties and experts in the field of medical laboratories. Participants emphasized that these scientific seminars are an effective platform for the exchange of knowledge and expertise and an opportunity to review the latest research and technological innovations to enhance the efficiency of laboratory practices and keep pace with global developments. Bahrain hosted the 24th Annual Society for History and Archaeology in the GCC, which continues until tomorrow. The forum brings together a group of experts and researchers and presents important scientific papers in this file, which reflects the objectives of the association in enriching the libraries of the Gulf. More than 200 participants and 30 research papers are participating in the forum, ranging from history, archaeology, and heritage related to GCC countries. The Coast Guard Command confirmed the continuation of intensive efforts through law enforcement campaigns and addressing maritime violations of all kinds in all areas. More in this report.
The Coast Guard Command at the Interior Ministry is making great efforts to address maritime violations in the territorial waters of Bahrain and ensure that sailors and fishermen comply with the decisions regulating fishing in all its forms and in all maritime areas. From this perspective, the Coast Guard Command, in cooperation with all concerned parties, continued its inspection and awareness campaigns in all locations and maritime coasts in Bahrain. As a result of these efforts, 64 violations related to marine wealth and environment, including shrimp fishing violations and possession of legally prohibited bottom trawls, were seized during the first months of 2025, and these ongoing campaigns come from national objectives as they aim to provide a safe marine environment by ensuring that all seafarers adhere to the laws that prevent overfishing, as well as ensuring that they do not violate maritime regulations and laws. The Coast Guard Command emphasized to all fishermen and seafarers the need to abide by the law and observe the necessary requirements according to the law and regulations, and continues to continuously take all security and legal measures in compliance with its responsibilities to enhance maritime security and safety in order to preserve the national maritime wealth.